Hello, this is another maths class, but this time this is for year 2, and by popular demand we are having it on 5-minute intervals, telling the time. Telling the time is something that a lot of children find very tricky. It is a really tricky concept to get your head around, because we have all sorts of we have quarter past is 15 minutes, and we have digital clock, and we have analog clock, and we have to teach them both at the same time. And then we've got the past the hour, and then we've got the to the next hour, and all in all it can become very tricky. So my first advice is to you is do not teach it all at once. We very definitely teach it in stages. So once they've mastered the o'clock, then you go on to quarter past and half past. Do not try and go on to quarter to the next hour until you've got that absolutely sussed, because that's a really tricky concept, going quarter to the next hour. And only once you have all of those 100% done, dusted, absolutely 100% confident, do we go on to the 5-minute intervals. And then after the 5-minute intervals, then you can go on to the 1-minute intervals. So don't try starting with sort of what's 5:32 in 24-hour clock and digital. Yeah, the 24-hour clock's another one as well, but we don't learn that until about year 4, possibly. So off the top of my head. So don't worry about it too much. The important thing is to get the basics in there first. And so what I suggest you do is have a clock at home that your children can play with, and you can touch, you can move the hands and things. Now that could be buying one off Amazon, or you can make one. And actually some of the made ones are the best. And I suggest getting 2 paper plates, sticking them together with a paper fastener or something down the middle. And then you can put on the top one, you can put your numbers of the clock. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way around the top plate. And then you can cut into it at 5-minute intervals and flip those backwards, and underneath those you can have the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, so the 2 plates don't move, they're stuck together, but underneath the top plate you've got the 5, 10, 15, 20. So that's a good way to do it. Or you just buy one. And if you're going to buy a watch for your child to use, one of their first watches, can I highly recommend that you buy them some kind of teaching watch rather than a digital watch, or even just a normal analog watch. Can be quite confusing for children, particularly if it doesn't have all the minutes in between. So a teaching watch, I'll put a link in under this video for you, but it's the FlikFlak watch. It's a particular type of watch made by Swatch, and I highly recommend those. They're a lot cooler than the ones we had when we were kids, which were literally just red and blue. They're quite fun. You can choose all sorts of different colors. So have a look at those. Right. Teaching the clocks. So where do we start? We start with the hands, okay? And another common mistake that we all make is we call them the hour hand and, sorry, we call them the long hand and the short hand, which is fine when they're very little because they are long and they are short. But when we start getting towards sort of the hands moving around the clock, it's important that the children understand what they are pointing to. So we start to call the short hand the hour hand and the long hand the minute hand, because then when you look at the hour hand, it's pointing to the hour. And then when you look at the minute hand, it's pointing to the minute, which sounds quite obvious really, but there's nothing telling you that if you just use the long hand and the short hand. So that's a top tip. So the very first thing we do is the clocks. Okay, and then we do quarter past and half past, remembering always to move the hour hand. So if it is 3:30, you're moving the hour hand to be halfway between the 3 and the 4 as well. Don't just leave it on the 3. Then we go on to quarter past and quarter to, well, go on to quarter to. We've already done quarter past. I'm assuming you've done that. We go on to quarter to. Now, quarter to. Okay, now we look at the hour hand first. It has gone past these numbers. It's gone past the 3. It's coming up to the 4. Now, the minute hand has gone past the past sign. We could even call this the past side and this the to side. So it's gone past the hour hand's gone past the 3 and on, it's coming up to the 4 there. Now, what the children have to understand is that if the minute hand has gone past the 6, it's now on the other side of the clock and it's coming up to the next hour. And the next hour in this case is a 4. So this is 4:45. Okay. And if there are children watching, you can help me out here. You can tell me what the time is. So we're going to leave it there, pointing to the 9 because we're doing 4:45. And now the hour hand is pointing between the 5 and the 6. It's coming up towards the 6. So that's 4:45. Okay. So you can carry on practicing that. Now, then we go on to the 5-minute intervals. And they can be a little bit confusing. So that's why it's really helpful to use a teaching clock to start with, because it has these numbers that I've drawn in green around the outside. So we have 5 past, 10 past, quarter past, 20 past, 25 past, 30 minutes past, which is half past as well, I ought to write. And then on this side, we have coming up to the hour. Now, your children will already know that this is 1:45 here. So what we do is we count back 5 minutes to, 10 minutes to, 15 minutes to, 20 minutes to, and 25 to, because you're always trying to encourage children to think of moving towards the next hour. So if we have the hour hand's pointing nearly at the 3, you can over exaggerate that to make it a really small one. And the minute hand is now pointing at the 7. So it's gone past the 2, it's coming up to the 3. So it's something 2, 3. Count back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, 2, 3. And another way you can show this if you've got hands that move on your clock is if you had it on 3 o'clock, like that, you can actually move the minute hand back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So it gets down to there. And you'll see the hour hand also moves. And so it's 25 minutes before 3 o'clock. So we move backwards through that. I'll give you another example. So we don't get thoroughly confused. Let's do some like this. So this one, the minute hand is pointing to the past, but we always look at the hour hand first. So this hour hand is somewhere between the 4 and the 5. So it's gone past the 4. So it might be a past 4. It might be coming up to 5 o'clock. So now we look at the minute hand and we say, it's only gone 10 minutes past the hour. And the hour was 4. So that is 10 minutes past 4. Excellent. I think I'll do one more. Okay, bad example, hold on, there. So we look at our hour hand and it's really, really near the 9, isn't it? It's not quite on the 9, but it's really, really near the 9. So it's coming up to 9 o'clock and we look at the minute hand and the minute hand says we've got 5 minutes to go until it gets to 9 o'clock. So that's 5 minutes to 9. Now, that's a really quick explanation of it, mostly for parents rather than children. I hope it helps a little bit. There's one more thing I want to show you, which I can do on a screen share, because it's this rather brilliant little clock. Some of you will have seen me use this before, I think, actually. This is Top Mark's website, which is the same one that has the hit the button game and things, but you can see this now. So we go, it happens to be bang on 3 o'clock now, but so we can go forwards. We can move the minute hand around up to 4 o'clock. Then we can do 5-minute intervals. And as I said, don't bother with the 1-minute intervals yet, but that helps. Then, and if they're stuck on how many minutes that is, I would just get a little piece of paper with blue tack on it and stick it to the screen so that they have the 5, 10, 15, 20 going around there as well. That's really handy. Once you get older, into year 3 and 4, then you can start to convert them into 24-hour clock, digital clock. So we can say, right, okay, so that's 5 p.m. is the same as 5:00 p.m. So we can look at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. We can then say 5:15 is the same as 5:15, and you can flip between the two. So that's a really good little website for you to have a look at. So I hope that helps those of you with younger children who are struggling with telling the time at home. The best thing you can do, as I say, is just practice, 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 and use a clock to help you, and make one if necessary. And so, yeah, and don't overdo it. Don't go for the minutes and you know, reading bus timetables and things just yet. Just crack the 5 minutes first. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful, and I shall see you soon. Bye.